Journeyman, welcome. As folks are filing in, my good friend Arturo Dominguez hopefully will join us in a few. Think he may be having some technical difficulties. A lot of that's been going around lately. I've seen, as a matter of fact, I actually had to reschedule a live event that I was supposed to be a guest on yesterday for similar issues, but hopefully he'll be able to join us shortly. But in the meantime, I will try to hold it down. Is everyone able to hear me okay? Hopefully so. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Um, yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe. If the spirit hits you, consider becoming a paid subscriber. That certainly does a lot to help those of us who are uh, bootstrapping independent journalists and writers, as it were. As a matter of fact, hi Daria, how are you? By the way, how is everybody? Because I actually, as I mentioned earlier, I had a live stream that was I was supposed to guest on, and it canceled. And actually, in retrospect, that probably was a good thing because I was in a bad mood yesterday. And I'm smiling, but I'm not happy. So I guess we got a lot to talk about, and hopefully Mr. Dominguez will be able to jump in and join me shortly. In the meantime, um, where to begin? What in the world is going on with Democrats, folks? This is not the first time we've had this conversation. It seems like, I mean, I have certainly written about the Democratic Party's singular ability to drag victory from the jaws of defeat. Am I saying that right? Or defeat from the jaws of victory, whichever way it goes. But they just, I don't know. I've got some theories, and maybe we can kind of get into it. Just to recap, this is the last week. Today's Tuesday. So last Tuesday we had, I think, what could be categorized as a blue wave event. We won elections, that we weren't supposed to win in a lot of places, and in places where we were expected maybe to eke out a victory, we kind of had blowouts. Um, Pennsylvania or rather, New Jersey and Virginia elected their first female governors by double digits in both cases. And then, of course, we had Zoran Mamdani, who just, that's one for the record books in so many ways. There is Mr. Dominguez. I'll just finish this thought and then I will invite him in. Mamdani, and I'm sure Arturo and I will talk about this at length, but I still marvel at the idea that um, this is a person that, putting aside the fact that he's a Muslim and I guess you would call him an immigrant. Certainly, his parents, having been born in Uganda, and all of those things going against him. But forget all of that. This is someone that started off at 1% and ended up at more than 50%. So, those are just those 3 feats alone are a lot. But then pardon me, you look at, I saw a race in one district. I think it was for um, maybe district attorney or something like that, where Democrats flipped a seat that hadn't gone Democratic in, I mean, since like the 1800s. I don't remember the exact date, but certainly, we're talking a couple of hundred years ago or 150 or so. So um, that was where we were this time last week. And somehow Democrats figured out how to make us stop talking about how well we had done. And now we're talking about just the opposite. So, with that, I will look for my man, Arturo Dominguez, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. And if I did that right, Shane, I couldn't agree with you more. Shane says Schumer is cooked. And I actually said this even before the election, just because of the way they handled the New York mayoral. And by they, I mean Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Um, I just felt like they should be getting their affairs, their political affairs, in order anyway. So, yeah, when you think about it, and I'll just, as we're waiting on Arturo to join in, I'm I'm glad I started to do this yesterday, but I was just a little too pissed off, and I said, let me just kind of take a deep breath and see sort of what's being said and sleep on it. And I don't feel a whole lot better, to be honest. And the reason is that I cannot make any sense out of why Democrats, and I say Democrats, we're talking about 7 Democrats, and then you throw in Angus King, who is an independent, but he caucuses with Democrats. So those 8 folks. I don't understand the logic of what they did when they did it. And just to explain, okay, we've gone 40 days. Arturo says he's not getting the invite. Let's try it again. Invite to join. So we have this shutdown and it's going on for 40 days. There we go. All right, all right. He made it. Welcome. Let me just pause for a second and introduce my guest, Arturo Dominguez. So we're going to get like perspective. I'm on the East Coast. Arturo is in Texas, so we're going to get a sort of a range of opinion, hopefully. And I'm not going to promise that we're going to solve anything, but we're going to we're going to complain a whole lot. Yeah, that's welcome, Arturo. So I was I was just saying, and I'll sort of set the scene, and then I'll let you jump in. A week ago we were on a high. I mean, I thought Wednesday morning we were way better off than I would have thought we could be. And then, we fast forward and even before what happened, with the in the Senate occurred, the media was still trying to sort of um, the narrative was that Democrats had a lot of turmoil because this progressive guy won. And then you had these moderate governors that won. So, which is the future of the party and all of that kind of stuff. But, I didn't pay a lot of attention to that really, because the voters will tell you, you know. Um, and to me, it didn't really matter a lot. um, Here's the question I have that it doesn't make sense to me. So, given that momentum that we had, voters are clearly telling us that they don't blame us for the shutdown. They blame Republicans. They don't blame us for the economy. They blame the Republicans. So we get into, I guess, Friday. If the reason that this all happened because these 7 Democrats and Angus King were worried about SNAP benefits. That's kind of what They were saying, people are hungry, got to do something, yada, yada, yada. Well, we just on Friday had a judge that ruled in favor of giving everybody full SNAP benefits. I'm in North Carolina. The limited benefits that went out, North Carolina got their benefits Friday. Now, I know every state was different, but in North Carolina, people actually received benefits last Friday. Okay. So Trump appeals the decision. He wants an immediate ruling, doesn't get it, goes to the Supreme Court. He's in a district, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's the judge that has to deal with that particular district. She says, hold your roll. I'm going to give you an administrative. Well, she didn't give it to Trump. She just said administrative stay. We're not going to rush this to the Supreme Court. We're going to give this judge a chance in the First Circuit to make his ruling. He makes his ruling Sunday at just before midnight, I think, on Sunday. Why did Democrats feel like they needed to do this? Because if the reason is the SNAP benefits, which I'm not saying it is, I'm saying that's what they were saying.
Right.
You're about to get a ruling. It's probably going to be in your favor. And sure enough, the judge in the First Circuit says, no, you got to pay full SNAP benefits. So now it's 48 hours after his ruling was the way Jackson set it up, which is like today. Okay. The Supreme Court doesn't have to take this case. If they don't, everybody gets full benefits. So help me understand why they felt like they needed to cut our legs out from under us.
I honestly, I can't explain it. If the whole purpose was holding out because of health insurance costs.
Right. So,
Right.
yeah.
So essentially they got nothing.
Well, and that's my point. The pressure was all on the Republicans until they did this. All the pressure was on Republicans.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous to me that okay, so one, Republicans were taking heat for all of this,
Right.
and rightfully so. That's exactly who you put it on. They won't even bring the House into session. Um, it doesn't make sense to me that they would cave because of the court decisions that you just mentioned, because it seemed like there was going to be ruled in their favor, which would have bought them a ton of time. It's a huge window. Um, but I don't get why these 8 Democrats, and I know you pointed this out, how a lot of these people aren't up for reelection, right?
That's right. Either they're not up for reelection, or I know Dick Durbin is retiring, and I'm sure I
Right.
think there's at least one more. But so they don't have to bear any direct consequence. There's nothing, we can't like recall these people or something, you know.
Right. Right. And I saw an interview or partial interview with Fetterman. I think CBS was interviewing him, and he was saying, he's throwing out the whole math part, right? About the Senate. You have to work with Republicans, whatever, because of the numbers.
Wait a
And
minute.
at no point did he mention anything about his constituency, right? Is this what your voters wanted? Because you're supposed to be representing your voters, right? Not
Right.
doing the math with Republicans. If your voters say don't, you're supposed to not. You know what I mean? That's what being a representative means, right? So
Right.
John Fetterman, essentially, his argument is to when I heard it, it sounds like he just made this unilateral decision without even talking to his constituents or anybody in the state, and essentially saying that, in order to open the government, we have to negotiate with Republicans. And okay, yeah, that's partially true, but you were holding all the cards. You know what I mean? Like you
Look, man,
really taking them to task.
I have flipped this around in my head, and
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my brothers this morning about it, who is pissed He was telling me he's in Arkansas and he's waiting to see how much his health insurance is going to go up. And he's an old football player. He said if this was a football team, we'd fire the coach all the way down to the water boy.
Yeah.
you know, you, so so
Yeah.
because it just doesn't make sense now. So think about this. I watched a variety of news services, and what I was hearing yesterday, this was being reported like these renegades broke from the party and just did some shit,
Right.
which I don't believe. Okay. First, and then I think it was maybe Cortez Masto. I forget exactly who was on. I think it might have been Bloomberg or one of the. And someone asked, did Chuck Schumer know about this? And she said, "Oh, we communicated the whole way." So I think it. This is how it looks to me, and I will admit I am cynical. Okay, but
Right.
it looks to me like if this was planned, like, well, why wouldn't all the Democrats just bail? Number
Right.
one. Number two, you got one or two things. And when you talk about Schumer, whether he should be the leader or not, I can say this with 100% certainty. Had this been Nancy Pelosi, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And I'm not saying I'm a giant Pelosi fan, but one thing
Right.
about her is she controlled her caucus. So
Yeah.
either there was some pressure that they don't want to talk about, which I have a thought on that too. And Schumer's little plan was, okay, none of you guys are up for, you're safe. So you guys can do this. And Angus, come on. And that's what they did. And Schumer knew it the whole time, or they were renegades. In either case, this guy should not be leading. Either he knew it and it was a bad freaking idea, or he didn't know and it was and it was a bad idea.
Right. We see the thing about what the renegade thing falls apart for me when you throw in Dick Durbin. I've always been a big fan of Dick Durbin because of his pro-immigrant stance, but he's not a renegade type
He's not
lawmaker.
he's a lot of things. He is not the guy who's going to lead
Right.
like a riot.
Right.
No way.
He's
No way.
always towing he's always towing the party line, He speaks up for immigrants, he speaks up against injustice and all kinds of stuff, and I love him for doing that. I don't always agree with him, but in this
And
particular
he's an
case,
institutionalist.
right,
Just
and
number one.
in this case, him voting the way he did throws out, in my opinion, throws out the whole renegade idea.
I hadn't even thought of that, but I agree with you 100%. Someone in the comments mentioned that Nancy Pelosi is in the House. I know that she is. I just mentioned it only to illustrate the you know the idea that the difference exactly. um Schumer, I don't he's just not. And I like gangster movies. I write about him all the time. He's not a wartime consigliere. He's no he he is not the guy that you need in this situation. And you know, I say this as a person in their late 60s. The guy he can't even do this without having a script. He's just not that kind of guy. And we need somebody right now in this situation that can throw a punch. And that's not him, figuratively, obviously.
And it kills me how he continuously takes the Republican Party's word on, well, let's pass this and then we'll handle this later. And then Republicans renege on it every time. He's done it with the budget, he's done it with immigration,
Well, he did it the last time we were in this situation in March. I guess it was the last time, right? Where he said, well, we're not. Now, I'll give him credit. The last time he didn't even last 48 hours, at least. At least this time, he did last. Someone said, if not Schumer, who? I don't know, Elizabeth Warren. They fear her, and I just don't think she's afraid of Republicans. And I feel like, oh, the other thing I heard that I've heard a couple of things supposedly driving this decision. Um, the one thing I've heard in a couple of places that maybe has some truth to it was that, Trump had been trying to get Republicans to just say, screw it, and throw out the filibuster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, don't tempt me with a good time, and because they've done it before, they've done it with judges, they've done it in all these other different instances. And so what I have heard, or, I've just seen it from other reporters that are, in a position to know, I guess, that Democrats were afraid that Republicans were going to get rid of the filibuster and just start, doing shit. I don't know what worse could they do. I'm sure there's something, but taking everybody's health care and starving folks, what else you got? I mean, so
Yeah,
they were fearful, and they did this to keep Republicans from getting rid of the filibuster.
right.
What do you think about that?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like something Chuck Schumer would be afraid of. Chuck Schumer's just such a pushover. So I think he's just way too easily influenced sometimes by Republicans, and I don't. I have a hard time. I could see John Fetterman probably freaking out about the filibuster, but I have a hard time
Well,
believing
John
that that.
Fetterman, man, I'm expecting him to flip to being a Republican any day now.
Oh yeah,
I mean, so he was like the least surprising name that I saw
right,
in that whole
right.
group.
Yeah, he kept saying, like today in the thing I saw, he was like, "We can't hold the federal government hostage." I'm like, no, you can't hold poor people hostage. You can hold the federal government hostage. It's the poor people you should
Yeah,
be holding
really.
hostage. Like, come
So,
on, man.
so now think
I
about.
don't.
I'm sorry. Go on with your
No,
point.
I was gonna say, like, I don't benefit from the Obamacare stuff, right? Because in Texas, we don't expand Medicaid, and like, there's this huge, huge gap where
Hmm.
people just don't. You can't get Medicaid, and you can't get any subsidies on the marketplace. So I'm stuck. I'm a cash paying insurance person. I don't get food stamps either, But at the end of the day, as someone who's technically poor, these kind of things are like a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, I have to make decisions, every month about groceries and prescriptions. And I need my prescriptions. They're only like $60, so I don't really sweat it too much. But sometimes I have to make that decision. And the fact that we're having this debate over healthcare and groceries is like a
I know,
huge
man.
slap in the face to seniors, to veterans, to poor. You know what I mean? There's so many people who have to make this decision between healthcare and food every single day. And here we are having this national debate about healthcare and food. So, like, I don't buy this, like, us criticizing it. A lot of people have come at me saying that we're pitting the poor against each other, those that get food stamps versus those that need the health care, or we're pitting the poor against the middle class.
They are generally the same people.
Right. Like, no, bro. Like, how
No,
can
the
we?
people who have, whose health care is going to go crazy are
Right.
the people that are on Obamacare, who are probably the same people who are getting food stamps or,
True.
SNAP, as it were. So that to me is just a red herring, and I don't accept
It
it.
is.
And I've been listening to Progress Radio today just to kind of hear what some of the pardon me, some of the pundits, folks who actually get paid to do this, not us. And so 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 I am hearing people, and I realize you got to make, find a silver lining, but some people are saying, well, it had gone on and they had done all they could do, and I have not heard anyone question the timing in terms of what I just said earlier. When you've got the courts essentially about to take care of the SNAP issue. And they literally jumped in front of that, which makes no sense at all. Why not wait? What does it cost to wait two more days?
Yeah, I don't. Again, that still doesn't make any sense to me.
Now,
Like,
theoretically, it could have gone to the Supreme Court, but it just doesn't add up to me. and I mean, we don't know yet unless you've seen something. We're still kind of in limbo where the First Circuit has basically agreed with the lower court that full benefits have to go. Trump has said he's going to appeal, or the DOJ has, which, one and the same now. But I haven't seen where they've actually filed. I just hadn't seen it. I'm not saying they haven't done it.
No, I haven't seen it yet either. I will say you mentioned something about silver lining that because the Senate passed this, now the House has to come back into session, right?
That's right.
That means the Epstein files should be top priority
That's right.
along with swearing some people in
Right.
to their right to their seats. So,
And I
I
believe
mean,
Johnson has already said, everybody get back, because I mean he knows he's got to swear this person in. Now, what's interesting to me about this, about the House, is I believe Johnson has also said, well, he ain't promising nothing,
right.
regardless of whatever the Senate said. So again, what have we still may not be out of the shutdown, because are you telling me, given the reaction to the Senate from folks like us, is Hakeem Jeffries really really going to vote to push this through the Senate?
Honestly, I don't think so.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Everybody acts like this is just a fait accompli, that the shutdown's over, but
Right.
I just don't see that happening in the House.
Yeah, I saw an interview earlier with Richie Torres on MSNBC, and I have beef with that guy, so I kind of follow what he
Well,
does.
well,
But he blocked me on his personal social medias, and Pablo. We were all going at it one day, but he was on there, and they asked him about Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats voting for it, and Richie Torres said that basically the party line in the House is they're not going to because it's unacceptable. So,
well, the deal in the House is gonna be worse than whatever the Senate did,
yeah,
because the
absolutely.
House ain't trying to help anybody,
No, no,
and they got
I
other
mean,
problems too with the Epstein situations.
yeah, right, right. I mean, I think, I think that, they add amendments. It's probably going to have to go back to the Senate. Like we're not out of the shutdown, like you said. It seems like we're closer. We are one step, but there's still several steps to go. And I'm not so sure that the numbers are there to open up the government. So,
Someone else
it-
just points out here, this whole thing with hemp that they have slipped in there. I just saw a passing. I didn't get to dig into it, but it just, just noticing that, because I think everybody in the Senate voted to make THC hemp illegal or just something crazy. And
maybe
they have slipped all these other. I saw Marsha Blackburn tried to slip something in where, senators could sue for like a $500,000 if they got investigated under January 6th, and they're trying to slip a nationwide abortion bill, and just these are not people who you can trust, and that is just the bottom line. And Democrats got to quit acting like this.
right, because I mean, Republicans are 100% dishonest brokers. There's not ever since the whole thing went MAGA, there's not really anybody you can really work with on the Republican side. It's really difficult because they're all afraid of Trump. And
Well, that's what makes the whole Epstein thing so interesting to me. With um oh, that the guy, the Republican that's pushing it, out of Oklahoma, the guy. um See how old we are, man. We
yeah, I know.
It's either that or short term memory loss, and I'm not gonna say which.
Yeah, right, right. Probably a little of both. But yeah, yeah. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's pushing for the Epstein
I
files.
know, it's crazy, right? We got all these strange bedfellows. I wanted to say the guy, Mattis or something like that, but um, it- you know, it's just very odd in that situation. But otherwise, who would you negotiate with in the House? I don't know
I,
anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a Paul Ryan or a John Boehner around, you know what I mean?
Well, you sure
It
can't trust Johnson, but I just mean even, who are the senior guys in the House that you would even try to sit down with? I don't
I
know.
can't think of it.
There's
I
yeah,
can't think of any.
because they're all
I think
just
I think it's laughable that they're afraid of Trump, but maybe there's an element to Trump that really is
I
monster
mean,
style that I don't know about.
dude, they could do it while he was asleep because he's asleep.
That boy,
He's going to sleep all the time. They could just wait on him to pass out and just, run some shit through. I mean, I'm joking,
for all
but
the
it just,
for all the grief they gave Biden about being old, it took the Washington Post 2 days to say something about about Trump falling asleep in the White House.
dude, I thought that was some kind of deep fake or something. I really
I
did
did too.
because I
I
was
did
like,
too.
this cannot be this man sitting up here at the Resolute desk, just in the Oval Office, just nodding off. Like me sitting on the couch after dinner or something. I mean, are you kidding me?
Thanksgiving.
I mean, and people are just continuing on like it's not even happening.
Right.
They just, and you got RFK Jr. sitting up there literally talking about people having sleep problems. And this guy is sitting right over there out. I mean, you can't make this up.
No,
So
I know
anyway,
the whole administration is a circus. But yeah, like going back to this, to the vote in the Senate, it just again, I it doesn't make sense to me, and I really do feel burned. Especially somebody who struggles with groceries and medication and stuff. Like it's just the cost of living is through the roof,
mhm.
and they're throwing the word affordability around thanks to Mom Donnie, but nobody's doing anything about it. And this whole Democrats caving is a perfect example of why nothing is changing and why nothing happens. It's like we constantly, if you're relying on Democrats, we're constantly giving them inches and they're taking miles from us. You know what I mean? And it's just
I
terrible.
I published a piece several months ago about this phenomenon, and I used the cartoon of Lucy with the football, you know,
Yeah.
and that was months ago, and it just keeps repeating itself. Nelly, thank you. It's Thomas Massey. I knew it was something with
Yes,
an M.
massive.
Massey is the guy.
Yes.
See how
We're
our audience is so smart, man. I knew somebody would solve that for me sooner or later. Um,
helping out some old guys.
yeah, well, yeah, help, help the the boomers out, y'all. Well, I mean, we're doing the best we can.
Right,
So,
right.
I guess back to the potential silver linings. Okay, one of them is we've talked about it may not even make it through the House anyway. The
Right.
second thing is if it does, we're only talking through January and we're going to be right back here all over again. So the way I see it, you're trying to find the best out of the worst situation. People's premiums right now are going to go up. I mean, people are already being notified. So unless something happens like this month, it's going to be, I don't know how they, just mechanically would unwind all of that. And well, you looking like in North, you mentioned your state in North Carolina, or Lefty rather, a Lefty professor says that his premium doubled. From what I'm hearing, you're lucky. My brother thought that his premium was going to go up like multiples, like more than 3 times, because he's got to have some surgery and he's trying. People are scrambling trying to get all their stuff done now, right? But if you're in North Carolina, I'll use myself. I'm on Medicare because of the way North Carolina is set up. My son and my daughter are both, still dependents, so they're on the CHIPS program, which was really Medicaid. my wife, until just just literally like less than a month, this month, she was on the ACA. So you got all these different things, and I guess I'm okay. I'm not for now, right? But my kids, I don't know what their situation is going to be come the first of the year.
That's scary.
Don't know. Nobody has really said, and so it's weird.
CHIP. My kids were on CHIP here in Texas, the Children's Health Insurance Program, for a long time.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, without the ACA and stuff, I don't know that that program could exist.
yeah,
So
I know. And I mean, and fortunately, we don't have any major health problems in their regard, but you don't know, right?
right, right.
And so it's it's a mess, man. It's a mess.
It's kind of a scary time. It's kind
Yeah,
of
and
and it's a scary time.
it really is, and that's we haven't really. I mean, we're just talking about one aspect of like orders of magnitude of just
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I've spent most of the morning just looking at not this, but just what's going on with tariffs because we don't know. I mean, last week the Supreme Court, had their hearing. It sure looks like they're going to vote against Trump on that.
I know it does. Yeah.
Okay, so Trump posted something this morning saying it sounded like he was saying we ain't got the money. He was saying it's going to cost $3 trillion. I mean, the guy is just pulling numbers out of thin air because we haven't even taken in $1 trillion in tariffs, and so we don't know what he's doing with that money because originally the tariffs he was saying that money was going to offset the deficit to make up for the hole in the big bad bill, right?
Right.
And then he started saying, well, you know, we're going to do something with the farmers that he's putting out of business because of the tariffs. So I don't know how we're going to pay all these people. And now potentially he may have to give all that money back anyway. So let's say if they rule against him, I mean, that's what has to happen, right? So the farmers are fucked, you know, big time. The deficit is going to be, you know, I mean, it's 5 trillion without any help. The tariffs were just really like not really a big factor, but it was something, you know. So
Yeah.
look, I have always known Republicans could not govern, but honest to God, I did not expect them to be this bad at it.
No, no, and I hate to say it because I never really liked John Boehner or Paul Ryan, but I miss those
But at
guys.
least they could, I mean, dang. At least when things got really bad, they acknowledged, okay, we screwed up. Help,
Right.
please, please come help
Yeah.
us. You know,
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean, the Republican Party now is just basically a bunch of trolls. They get off on making people miserable, and they think it's funny. Like a lot of the people who voted for Trump to own the libs. Like, come on, man. Like, let's do something for the people, and I just don't see that with any Republicans. Even Marjorie
well,
Taylor Greene trying to normalize herself, still not trying to do
yeah.
anything for people.
Why you think she's doing that? I have a
Well,
couple of reasons or thoughts, I think.
there's a lot of people are hanging on to what AOC said the other day about
Hmm.
her running for the Senate or
Yeah,
something
she had
from
wanted
Trump.
to run for the Senate, and then she got shut down.
Right, and then other people are suggesting that rumor-wise that maybe she might be thinking about running for governor or for president. Um, good luck with that last one.
My God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
As strange as it may sound, I think she could do better than Trump. I just think
possibly,
I think she probably could run the government better than Trump.
yeah.
But I don't want to find out though. I'm not really interested in being
Yeah,
proven right on that.
yeah.
That is scary. That's a scary thought. because we really might have some Jewish space lasers if she got in there.
Oh shit.
There's no telling what would happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's not a fan of Israel either, so that's
Sure.
the person.
Yeah, there's so much bad that could. So let's not even talk about that anymore. I don't want I don't want to speak it into existence because yeah, that's too crazy. Um
I don't know where Democrats go from here. It's really hard to say, because all the vote in the House is probably going to be a battle. It's going to be ugly.
yeah,
For Senate Democrats and like Chuck Schumer, like I don't know where he goes from here. I know, to me, I feel like he organized these votes so he can vote no and be like, well, it wasn't me, I voted no, so he can try to.
that's not leadership.
No, it's not. But that's what this feels like, right? It
Yeah.
feels like everything was coordinated, and he was like, so I'm going to vote no, so nobody comes after me. You guys don't have anything to worry about.
I mean,
So
that's some
apparently,
old Senate stuff. Mitch McConnell
it
used to
is.
do that. And even Pelosi would do that where you had people who, well, so and so's got to vote with this, because he's in a tough district or whatever. But that's not what this is. This is bad. And like I said, they'll get another bite at the apple come hell or high water, in January. However, by then, all these folks that are on the ACA, the premiums are going to go up, and it will have happened by then. Now, I've seen, and look, there's some truth to it that Republicans will get the blame for this, and Democrats probably, by this time, by the time we get to the midterms, people may have, sort of mellowed on, I'm probably not going to be as mad as I am right now. I'm still going to be mad. Um, but right now, Democrats are kind of all we got, unfortunately. I have to tell you, I think I have noticed some folks saying, I'm out. Not that I'm going to vote for Republicans, but I'm out of, I can't stick with this party. And that article that I mentioned earlier with the football, part of it was Democrats on the verge of losing their base. And I guess that's the part that gets me, how we could go in literally in a week from dang, Democrats really kicked ass to dang, Democrats are getting their ass kicked again.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the difference between state level and city level versus federal.
I guess, man.
In the federal government, man, apparently, especially in the Senate, they've gone, I don't know, straight delusional. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I don't know where Chuck Schumer.
Arturo, the part we're leaving out of this conversation, and we know what it's money, dude. It's money.
Yeah.
It's money. Just before I got on, I saw, and I didn't even get a chance to read it, where more than one of the people who, this 7 Democrats gets a shit ton of money from the airline lobby. And that was the other thing. And I actually had forgotten to mention that, I saw a few comments yesterday where people were saying, oh, it was, it's getting close to Thanksgiving and, they're cutting off all these flights. And well, they're still doing that anyway. It's going to be a disaster anyway. But yeah, they were probably getting a ton of calls from these guys. And see, at the end of the day, it comes down to it. It's money, man. And I'm not saying it just because I don't have a lot of it. I'm just saying that in politics, you can't, it's perverse. It creates these perverse incentives that do not include us. Right.
Right.
So who are they listening to that would cause them to snatch all that, just to trash all that momentum that they had? What would cause them to do that? And we've talked about a couple of the things, but at the end of the day, it's probably a lot to do with who's giving them money and who's who's complaining. They're getting phone calls from us. They're probably getting phone calls from folks who have given them money.
Yeah. Those are
Now,
the calls they take.
yeah, And in the case of Mamdani, we know it was APAC and some of these other, think tanks and PACs and whatnot. And that is the explanation for Schumer's behavior and Hakeem Jeffries' behavior. I would like to know. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Cuomo was getting a lot of money too. I think
hmm
another thing I think another thing that is getting overlooked too is that with a lot of these increased premiums, these people aren't going to be stuck with a bigger bill. A lot of them are going to lose their insurance because they can't afford it.
well, yeah, and then that means, and who pays for it? If you lose your insurance, that doesn't mean you're not going to get sick.
Right.
And people show up in the emergency room, they're going to have to be treated, you know. And so it's I mean, look, we obviously we're not going to solve it here. I just look, man, it's almost we're almost coming up on the hour that quick. Um but you know what just to shift gears a little bit, tell what are you working on, man?
A couple things. Today I'm putting a list together of all the police departments, local law enforcement agencies working with ICE.
Mm.
There's over 1,000. So it's taking a little
What do
bit.
you
But
when you say working with ICE, what do you mean?
on the 287G program where they have three different they call them models. There's a jail enforcement model. So if they request an ICE hold at your county jail or local jail, if you're participating in it, you're going to hold them. They have a warrant service officer, which is a cop serving administrative warrants instead of judicial warrants, ICE warrants. Administrative warrants aren't like legal warrants. They don't grant police authority to come on your property, but when a cop shows up with one and
You
says,
don't
"I'm going to
know.
change it,"
Most people don't
it's
know.
legit. Yeah, and then they have a task force model, which trains cops to go on ICE raids with ICE. So yeah, the 287G program is basically they even call it this a force multiplier for ICE to help with
Huh. You mean in
deportation.
terms of manpower?
Right, right. And it's been around since 2003. However, the Trump administration is offering some big money to be part of the thing. And
Man, is
like
this
here in
true?
Harris,
I read that like ICE, these guys are getting like $50,000 signing bonuses. Is that right?
yeah, 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 and like if you have like college tuition debt, they'll pay that shit off too. If you
But
if
wait,
you
whoa, wait. I thought Republicans didn't believe. I
yeah,
thought that
right.
wasn't. Okay,
You
now
you
I'm
give
confused, man.
you give ICE $170 billion, they'll find a place to spend it.
Dude, I was breaking down the other day. This is something I got all this stuff I try to work on, and it's only 24 hours in a day, and I got my little plant bus and all that stuff. So, but one of the things I ran across I'm going to try to do this. It's a breakdown of just to put in perspective the amount of money that has been given to ICE.
Yeah.
Just comparing it to other aspects of the government, and it's beyond anything you've ever seen. I mean, you can say the number, but then when you start comparing it to other programs, it's scary, number one, because you know why they're doing it. And it's not just about immigrants to me.
No, it's not. I mean, under Biden, let me get this part out of the way. Under Biden, ICE and Border and Customs and Border Protection both received record funding, and that was
Hmm.
like 10 million. That was $10 billion. For Border Patrol, ten
Right.
billion dollars was record, like never seen before. Under Trump, all of a sudden, that jumps like I don't know, 1,000%. It's like a ridiculous amount of money. And no, it's not just for immigrants because Homeland Security, which operates ICE, ICE operates Homeland Security investigations, removal operations. ICE controls quite a bit and they have quite a bit of surveillance power. And the fact that ICE, I think we discussed this a while back, that ICE has access to, the utilities of 118 million Americans. They have the data from
Wait,
3 out of
utilities. I'm sorry. What do you mean by this?
yeah, like your utility records, like your light bill. They
Why would
have
they
all
need
that.
that?
I Good question, but the 118 million people are in their database. They have, all the information from 3 out of 4 driver's licenses, and they have used facial recognition on 1 out of 3 driver's licenses in this country.
That I
So they
was aware of. In fact, I saw something about the guys that make like the Ring doorbells sharing data
uh
with ICE. Is that right?
Amazon, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, the Ring doorbell thing is already, they share data with police departments, in a lot of cases, and now they're sharing it with ICE. So it's based on a previously existing agreement with local and state police officers, and now they're taking that agreement and expanding it over to ICE and Homeland Security and stuff. So yeah, they're a domestic surveillance agency, and citizen or not, you're not safe from their surveillance power. I mean, they can, based on all the laws in the Homeland Security Act and the Patriot Act, they have that power. We gave them, well, lawmakers gave them that power, but
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny in a sense. There was a movie years ago, and I think about it, fairly often. Is one of the I shouldn't say it like is one of the few Will Smith movies that I like. Enemy of the State. You remember that movie?
oh
Where
yes,
it
yes,
is like it's really held up
yeah,
because that movie came along. If I'm not mistaken, I it came along before 9/11, so before the Patriot Act, and it
yeah,
was pretty prescient in terms of where we're at right now. I mean, they kind of called it.
yeah,
And because in that movie, I don't even think there was a lot of cell phone usage. Or smart. I don't even think they really come up with smartphones yet. Letty, you're or Lefty, rather, you're right. At Minority Report, I mean, that movie is based on a short story by I think Philip K. Dick, maybe Ray Bradbury, one of them. And
yeah,
I don't know what these guys were on that came up with some of this science fiction that's just like on the money,
yeah.
just like um
Nostradamus level.
yeah, it's pretty scary. And don't get me
Yeah,
started on the Handmaid's Tale. So
yeah, right,
so
right.
how do people subscribe to your newsletter? Talk a little bit and we'll close out. Because you've
You
got
can
a
find.
couple of things going. You got um, two different publications.
Yeah, I got the Antagonist magazine. I've been running that online at antagonistmag.com for a while, and I'm trying to figure out a way to bring it to Substack. I cross post all my stuff at Antagonist Mag too, so that kind of creates a roadblock for me. But no, I'm trying to get more people. Like I think I've talked to you and Walter and a few other people about maybe contributing to Antagonist Mag. And then, my most popular thing right now is Decolonized Journalism newsletter, and I basically cover everything I've always covered. Most of it is human rights focused. A lot of it is, race and politics, a lot of the same stuff you do. Um, Racial justice type of thing. And then, on social media you can find me at Extreme Arturo, same handle pretty much everywhere. So try to keep
Awesome.
things easy.
Awesome. So, folks, I guess we'll close out, but I would just say this: you know, as bad as things are, I always this is how I keep going. Being black, born in the South, in Arkansas, I know as bad as all this shit is, it was like orders of magnitude worse for my parents, my grandparents, and so on. So, you know, we can come out of this. I may not see it, you may not see it, but at some point, it doesn't have to be like this. Um, just in parting, I would say subscribe to Arturo, support the work. If you're not a subscriber to the Journeyman, you know what to do. And didn't you got ranked in U.S. News, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in there for, I don't know, for a while.
Yeah, I got ranked last week for the first time in U.S. politics, and I would just say those two categories that I was surprised, but you know what, folks, on the chat, folks, that's what drives it. Paid subscribers, they have a formula of how they do it, and I was really surprised at this time last week, I was ranked ahead of Don Lemon and a couple other people that I was like, whoa, let me screenshot this. It's not gonna last.
Yeah, every
But
time I'm ranked every time I'm ranked above a big name, I always have to screenshot
I
it
know,
and post something
I know,
something
man.
funny.
I send it to all my friends. Send this. I send it to my relatives.
I was
But
beating I was beating Katie Fang and who's the other one? From back in the
oh yeah, yeah, Katie Couric.
Katie.
You were ahead of Katie Couric. I
Oh,
was ahead of yeah, I mean, I looked and saw Don Lemon in my, like in my draft,
right?
man. I was like, okay. But you know what? Oh, look who's here. KS Hernandez. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Um, but we're out here doing the hard work. And so,
Yeah.
folks, if you can become paid subscribers, help us keep this thing going.
Stop
Arturo?
paying those people with the purple checks and pay us. We're poor.
Yeah, really. Really. Arturo, man, it's always a pleasure. Somebody said we should start doing this regularly. Maybe we should talk
Yeah.
about that offline.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, man, take care of yourself. And, like they said, watch your six, man. It's getting crazy out here.
No kidding.
Okay, man. I'll be in touch soon. Everybody, thanks for showing up. And, we'll see you on the other side.